So as a course, we wanted to ensure that the student was at the centre of every decision that we made. So we did this by achieving four main goals: inclusivity, continuity, an engaging learning experience, and high quality evidence-based teaching. On the sport and exercise therapy course, we've been lucky in that we've been able to maintain a hybrid form of teaching over this last lockdown period, which has meant that we've still maintained practical experience, but our students have had a far better engaging learning experience on an online platform to go along with this. Each week, no more than 5 mini lectures are set for our students to watch, each followed by an interactive task to reinforce their learning. This has really helped to chunk learning into more manageable, digestible sections. We've also developed a virtual badge system where students each week are tasked with trying to achieve their virtual badge through completion of the allocated tasks. At the end of the module, they're then awarded a gold badge for completion of that module. The gold badge carries with it some learning outcomes that they can then import directly into their CV, so that our students can start to build their CVs and personal statements from year one. So this approach has really given lecturers free license to make these the mainstay of our teaching tasks. So these interactive tasks that students complete after their mini lectures are very much kind of based on the sound knowledge base and evidence base of game-based learning.
One of the advantages in the past year has been the upskilling of not just the staff at Solent, but people across the UK and the rest of the world in their use of electronic communication platforms, such as Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams has been one of the platforms that we've been able to deliver live lectures to our students. And because the students can access these lectures from the comfort of their own home, it's meant that we've been able to utilise a much wider variety of guest speakers and guest lecturers. And we've had some really high calibre speakers agree to have Q&As and guest lectures with our students, such as England internationalist Tyrone Mings, as well as clinicians from various different specialities working within high performance sport. So that's been a massive advantage and something that wouldn't have previously been able to have been accommodated had they had to come on site to deliver that in person.
So we've been lucky on the sport and exercise therapy degree programme in that we've been able to maintain a hybrid model with fortnightly practical sessions still going ahead. But what has really enhanced the student learning experience are these virtual learning environment tasks and mini lectures that they're tasked with completing on a weekly basis. This hasn't meant that students are less involved, it's actually meant that they're more involved. We've been able to monitor their engagement and their activity completion via our Solent online learning platform. Embedded within our lecture slides are also QR codes. So if we mention a useful resource or a link within our pre-recorded lectures, students can scan that QR code and download the PDF document or get taken straight to that information that is needed for them. We've also embedded some interactive tasks within the pre-recorded live lectures, such as things like Mentimeter, where students are asked questions that they can then contribute to. I'd also say that this virtual learning environment has also pushed our students to develop further transferable skills. So Victoria mentioned there about the IT skills that have had to be developed with this platform, but also things like time management and organisation and a greater autonomy and ownership of your workload. We've also found that this move to a virtual learning environment has prepared students for the real world. So the field of therapy will have changed in response to COVID, meaning that patients can now access their therapist via things like MS Teams or Zoom. So our students have had to upskill to learn how to conduct these important assessments of patients using these interactive technologies.
In addition, the hybrid model has really allowed students to take ownership over their own preferred learning style. In comparison to traditional teaching methods, where students would have had to attend a lecture in a lecture hall and make notes to the best of their ability in that time slot, the chunked learning approach has enabled students to watch the sessions in their own time. They can choose to spend an hour and a half to watch all the lectures in one sitting, or they might choose to break that up throughout the week. They can also download the sessions and listen to them as a podcast. So there are lots of different methods of accessing that information dependent on the own students' preferred learning styles. I also think that it's provided students with a voice. I personally am naturally quite an introverted person, and certainly as a student wasn't overly confident in speaking up within a classroom situation. But as Tom mentioned, utilising options such as the QR codes and accessing platforms like Mentimeter and the chat functions on our Solent online learning platform and through Microsoft Teams has allowed students who maybe are a little bit more introverted the opportunity to provide contribution and their ideas and opinions in a different format. So that has really increased the opportunities for participation and engagement, again, based on individual preference.
So we've had a fantastic response to this move to a virtual learning experience from our students, but it hasn't been without its challenges. So I'd like to give credit to our students for showing flexibility and adaptability to this change of method. With that being said, though, we have found that students are far more engaged with these weekly mini tasks than they would have previously been in traditional lecture platform. What this has also meant is that students are able to monitor their own learning and own engagement and to identify any gaps in their own knowledge. Therefore, we feel that students are getting a more rounded, wholesome learning experience. We've also found that this flipped classroom approach means that when students are in attendance, it means that they can come with pre-prepared questions and therefore have a richer learning experience whilst on campus.
At Solent, each module is required to undergo formal student feedback. This is an online submission where students answer the same questions across all modules across the whole university. In addition to this formal feedback, Tom and I have both ensured that we've sought informal feedback at halfway points through our module delivery. This is via anonymous submission links where students can answer questions designed by Tom and myself to find out about the students' views and opinions on the delivery of the content. The content can't necessarily change, it must meet certain requirements, but our method of how we create our mini lectures, the tasks that we use, and the content of our live sessions, that really needs to be delivered with the focus of student enjoyment and student engagement. On receipt of that information, we've then been able to look at how we deliver our mini lectures, what tasks that we give to the students, and the content of what we include in our live sessions. This has made sure that the delivery is tailored to our students' preferred learning styles. In addition, we also meet with representatives from the student body within first, second, and third year of our course. And this allows feedback to be given back to the teaching team in a different format. So as opposed to student to lecturer feedback, we can receive feedback collected by the students on behalf of their peers.
Personally, I see this hybrid model to continue into the future. I think the face-to-face practicals are still the mainstay of the education, particularly for our sport and exercise therapy students. But the theory content that they learn is far more engaging and far more relatable delivered by this virtual learning environment. I'd therefore like to see this to continue to improve into the future rather than to take a step backwards. I foresee this being developed across the next few years to really enhance and fine-tune and tweak our delivery methods to ensure that our teaching materials can be used in future years and across future modules and future students.
Overall, it's been a lot of effort to create this resource, but we understand that if we get this right, particularly over the initial few years, it's really going to have long-term benefits and be advantageous over the long run.